Good morning, everybody. Happy Sunday. It's game day, of course, as Rangers take the short trip to Fir Park to take on Motherwell this lunchtime. I'm Derek Clark, and I'm joined this morning by Jonny McFarlane to discuss the teams which have just dropped. Now, I'll run through the team, Jonny, before getting your opinion on it. Rangers lining up with McGregor in goal, a back four of James Tavernier, Leon King, Ben Davis is in the starting lineup, which is a huge boost. Borna Barisic starts at left back. John Lundstrom in the midfield, alongside Scott Arfield and Malik Tillman, and a front three of Rabbi Matondo, Ryan Kent, and Antonio Cholak. On the bench for Rangers this afternoon, McLaughlin, Ridvan, Davis, Sands, Morelos, Wright, McCann, Sakala, and Devine. Jonny, your initial reaction to that lineup that's just been announced by Rangers?
Yeah, well, a very attacking team there. I'm slightly disappointed that we're not going to see Vanyomas, and it does beg the question, Derek, when are we going to see him?
Yeah.
Borna Barisic had a poor game, his first really poor game of the season against Liverpool. Now, obviously, he's going up against serious talent. He was torched in the game, especially once Mo Salah came on, who, let's be honest, can torch anyone.
Yeah,
but if you're going to give him a wee rest, and I don't mind Barisic remaining the number one, but I think it's important that the fans get a chance to see the £3.5 million rising to £5 million left-back signing that's been made. You wonder what the future is if he's not going to be trusted in games like this. Now, I get they probably want to bring him in against teams at Ibrox if they're going to bring him in slowly but surely and all that, but I think the lad deserves a chance, and yes, it's frustrating not to see him. What do you think?
I totally agree with you, Jonny. That seems to be the general feeling amongst the supporters with the comments that are coming in here. I would have liked to have seen him. Now, like you, I think recent interviews that I've seen from Ross Wilson and John Bennett, where they sort of suggested that they'd signed him on a 5-year deal, not 5 weeks, but what... surely deserves a run out against Motherwell. Now, I understand why people are a bit dubious about if he's suited to Scottish football with regards to his physique and his height, but it's not as if he's come from a league where it's not physical. The Turkish league is a very physical, demanding league. He plays for one of the top clubs in there, plays for the Turkish national team. I'm sure he can handle himself going to Fir Park to take on a Motherwell side. Yeah, I'm disappointed not to see him. It raises more questions as to when we are going to see him. Borna Barisic is obviously the preferred candidate at left back for Giovanni Van Bronckhorst just now. He was not the only one that was roasted on Wednesday night. But I think the piece from Football Stewart on Twitter on the Rangers review site yesterday was a cracking piece explaining why Yilmaz deserves an opportunity at left back. But he starts on the bench, folks, so that's just the way it is. Ryan Kent's another one. The comments coming in, Jonny. For me, I think Fashion Sakala could maybe consider himself unfortunate not to start the game. I thought he did okay on Wednesday night before he was removed. Ryan Kent, on the other hand, I know he had that scored at Tynecastle, but in the main, he's been so out of form it defies belief at the moment. And yeah, that's another one for supporters are scratching their heads as to why he starts.
Well, for me, it's Sakala, Cholak, and one other at the moment. Yeah. You know, like Sakala's done nothing wrong. He was excellent in that game, in the last game, the 4-0 win against was it St Mirren? I've been away.
Yes, bang on, Jonny. It was last week, yeah.
So I just don't know how you can sort of judge Sakala by that Liverpool game and then see him dropped. You know, for me, he did pretty well against some tough opposition.
Yeah. And he loves Fir Park. He loves scoring goals at Fir Park. He scored a hat-trick there. I think he scored another couple there, hasn't he? But
he has, yeah, exactly. And you know, he's the one player that I probably feel like, in terms of Rangers, while he is a bit erratic and he can be frustrating, and I'm quite sure at some point in the 90 minutes I'll be shouting at my telly about something that he does if he was to start.
Yeah.
At the same time, I know that he's probably going to get a goal or an assist at some point because he's just dangerous. And it's been said before, and it's becoming a bit of a cliche about Sakala, but if he doesn't know what he's going to do next, the defenders certainly don't. So personally, because I'm an unashamed Ryan Kent fan, and I think Ryan Kent is a good player, a very good player on his game, I'd probably don't mind the idea of it being Kent, Čolak, Sakala. Given Kent's form, I probably would have gone Matondo, Čolak, Sakala. I think Sakala is really unfortunate to drop out of the team. I don't know what guys think in the comments. Let us know if you agree with that or not. I think it's been obvious that I've not been the biggest Sakala fan over his time at Rangers because he is frustrating. But I think when you perform as well as he did at Ibrox in that game, he deserves to be in for the next domestic encounter. And Derek, listen, you're agreeing with me. So
yeah,
there's clearly something in there to get stuck into. The other one that I can understand why he's in is Tillman.
Yes.
I think obviously Jack's injured. Stephen Davis. I would always play Stephen Davis in these types of games, mate. This is the thing is, like, I know he's 37 and he only came on as a sub. I think what Davis gives you is creativity from the base of the midfield.
Yes.
And look, he didn't play well against Liverpool. He was hopeless against Liverpool. But again, it's Liverpool. And personally, I like Lundstrom in the domestic setting pushing forward. He's got a hell of a shot. He's aggressive. He gets up and down. And I would have played Lundstrom and Arfield moving forward with Davis being a creative sort of base player. I don't think you need the destroyer type at the base of your midfield against most domestic teams. But, you know, he's got an opportunity to reclaim the form that he showed in the first few games. My problem with Tillman, and it's been since the start, I don't see the off-the-ball work. I don't see the off-the-ball graft. I don't see the off-the-ball intelligence in terms of being aware of the defensive situations of the game. Now, that might develop. He's very, very early into his career, and he's certainly got assets and qualities that can be exploited as the season goes on.
Yeah,
but
absolutely.
I don't know. I wouldn't trust him. Put it that way. I wouldn't.
Yeah,
on the defensive side of the game.
Yeah, his work rate needs to improve. That there is no question. It's a big afternoon for him. You just hope with Scott Arfield in there, he'll be in his ear, making sure that he's well on it. Because make no mistake, this is a cup final for Motherwell. We know what it's like at Fir Park. Just to give you a rundown of their team, folks, it's Kelly, McGinn, Solholm, Lammy, Penny, Sean Goss, formerly of this parish, of course, Slattery, Tierney, Morris, McKinstry, and Van Veen. So that's how Motherwell line up this afternoon. Another big bonus, you could say, Johnny, is the inclusion of Ben Davis. There were fears after the game in midweek that he could miss out. There was a muscle complaint, but Giovanni Van Bronckhorst did say in his press conference yesterday morning that he expects him to be in the squad, and he's in the starting lineup. I think that's huge because a lot of supporters rightly concerned about the raft of injuries in that defence, notably Connor Goldson now out for several months, which is a massive blow. So vitally important that Ben Davis stays fit. Now, he's just coming back from injury. He just played his first 90 minutes in midweek, hence why I think there was a bit of a muscle complaint. But you just touch wood, pray that he's going to be okay until Goldson returns, because Rangers need that experience in that backline with Leon King. Looks like he's going to be playing an extensive run of games now. Yeah,
well, Derek, what I would say is over the year and a bit that we've been doing this YouTube channel, there's been literally hundreds of commenters who have said that Connor Goldson is overrated. He's not up to it. He needs to be dropped. And the big defender has been an Iron Man for Rangers. He's almost always been fit. He's never been taken off with an injury. He's, in my mind, been really, really consistent for most of his time at Rangers. He's shown improvement year on year. He's had shaky spells. He had a shaky spell at the start of this season. But I think, personally, we're going to see just how much Connor Goldson brings to the table over the coming months. Yeah. And I think it won't be long before there's unanimity in the notion that he's a big miss. But we'll see who's right. I'm not right about everything. I get things wrong all the time. But there's a lot of people here who get stuck into them, and it'll be interesting to see where we're at in a month's time, whether or not those people are still thinking that Connor Goldson maybe isn't quite good enough. I disagree with that, mate.
Yeah, listen, there's sort of comments coming in saying that, Rangers, it's real baptism of fire, you could say, for young Leon. I think it might do him the world of good, right enough. It really is. He could grow up a fair bit with this extended run in the side, and I really hope he does take his chance. Rangers need him to, because there's no one else, unfortunately. There's no sign of John Suter and Phil Hollander coming back anytime soon. So it's King and Davis for the foreseeable at the moment. That aside, in terms of the other players in the starting lineup, Johnny, Rabbi Matondo, now it's another opportunity for him to show what he can do. You assume he's going to start on that right-hand side. He hasn't set the heather alight over there since joining the club, albeit he looked good in pre-season. I know you've said he's a project player, but Rangers need him to start delivering, don't they?
Yeah, whether he's going to or not, I think is another story. I have my severe reservations. I look at Rabbi Matondo and see talent,
yes,
but I also see someone that will maybe need 2, 3, 4 years to be moulded into the player that I think his skill set suggests he has the capability of becoming. And the problem with that is, at Rangers, when you're going out and you're spending 2.2 million, I think it was, on a player, you kind of need them to hit the ground running now, especially when it's a position that has been identified as one that's been problematic for a number of years. I would argue since Daniel Candeas left, Rangers just haven't had that quality out there. Now, Aaron Ramsey was brought in to be the box-to-box midfielder, but also someone who could play as a sort of right 10 in that role. And I think many of us thought, well, that seems like almost like a perfect stopgap. Not even that worked. So the last time I think Rangers had a quality, consistent player down that side was Daniel Candeas. And I don't think Rabbi Matondo is going to be the answer for that in the short term. He's, to me, a bit like a rotational option with Scott Wright, not someone that you can hang your hat on to perform week in, week out, but someone who will give you sparks because they have talent. I'd be interested to, if someone else has a different opinion on Rabbi Matondo, then I'd be interested in hearing it. I'm all ears. But that's my assessment based on what I've seen so far. It is early. And he was awesome, as Luke Gibson says, in those games in pre-season. And I think, Rabbi is one of those players who, if you give him space, I think he'll deliver. It's no surprise to me that his best performance recently for Rangers has been away to Liverpool at Anfield. I thought he looked great when he came on. But that's because there was space, and we've seen these players before that thrive in space at Rangers. They don't get space to thrive in at Rangers.
No.
You go back to Michael O'Halloran, then you move on to Jordan Jones, really, really super fast players whose number one attribute is their ability to get in behind. And I honestly just don't think it's that useful for Rangers in 90% of the games that they play. And if you're not playing the majority of games, then there's no use in having you sort of come in for the odd big game because you're not quite sharp enough, And the other one that I missed out there was Brandon Barker, who's another player who's got outrageous pace, but kind of failed to deliver at Rangers because he just didn't have that that space to show what he can do. But listen, Matondo, he's more than just pace. He's got a few tricks as well, and we'll see how he goes. I just don't think he's the obvious answer. And I think when people are criticising and critiquing the summer window, which is obviously happening a lot now, Derek, I think the smart critique is not the sort of scattergun approach, because I think anyone who's not going off on one accepts that Cholak has been a brilliant signing. Tom Lawrence looked like he was going to be a brilliant signing. I'm pretty sure Ben Davis is going to be a brilliant signing.
Yeah.
Right? So that's 3 of the 7 are looking like really, really good. And that's been unfortunate with the injuries. John Suter, that was always going to be a gamble, and he's been hit by an injury. I like John Suter as a player. I think he'd be a good Rangers player if he can stay fit. But that's
Yeah,
that's one that we're going to see over the course of the contract.
That's a $6 million question. Yeah, I wouldn't
it's
hold
a roll of
much
the dice, that one. And listen, everyone was aware of it. If it goes wrong, you get blamed.
Yeah.
But I think where there's really valid criticism, and I think this is, as I say, this is where, if you've not got the scattergun out, this is where you go for the criticism of Ross Wilson and the summer work. You spent 3.5 million, potentially rising to 5 million on Yilmaz, and you spent 2.2 million pounds on Matondo. If you put that together, it's a potential of 7.2 million being spent by Rangers. Now, of course, it's around about that. Okay, these figures can be. We know exactly how much Yilmaz cost because it's been announced as per the Turkish league rules. Matondo, that's reportedly 2.2 million pounds.
Yeah,
that's a lot of money for Glasgow Rangers at this point, at this stage in their development. And I think the valid criticism is to say, did that money need to be spent on a project player at right wing and a guy who's brought in as a long-term replacement for Borna Barisic at left back? Or could they have picked up someone on a free transfer to come in as an alternative to Borna at left back? Because there was quite a few on the market going into the summer, to give him a bit of competition, but also to just tide you over. And then could you have spent that money, that £7.2 million potentially, on, say, two attacking midfielders and a right midfielder that is ready to go? I think so. And I think that's a valid opinion. You know you're not going to get every transfer move right. And I know it's easy to do what I'm about to do, but I'm going to do it anyway because it's fact. Probably the most impressive midfielder in Scotland at the moment is Rio Hatate at Celtic in terms of how he's performing. Cost £1 million. So these bargains are out there and it's hard to find them, but it's up to Rangers to go and get that. That, as Teddy Bear says, that's a hell of a lot of money to spend on a project player.
Yeah, and listen, the comments coming in talking about Yilmaz, there's something up there. There's no doubt about it. I know that the whole he's settling in line is understandable, but you settle in more, I think, when you play games in this league. Get him in there and get him playing. But at the moment, he's not trusted to do so. He starts on the bench, folks. Just a reminder of that Rangers side taking on Motherwell at Fir Park. It's McGregor in goals, back four of Tavernier, King, Davis and Barisic, with Lundstrom, Arfield and Tillman the midfield. The front three consisting of Ryan Kent, Rabbi Matondo and Antonio Cholak. On the bench for Rangers this afternoon, McLaughlin, Ridvan, Yilmaz, Davis, Sands, Morelos, Wright, McCann, Sakala and Devine. That is it, the Rangers side that are taking on Motherwell this afternoon. We will have all the reaction from the game, folks. We'll be back, no doubt, with a post-match reaction video as well. So stay tuned for that. In the meantime, enjoy the game. Hopefully your team wins. I know that the reaction to the team news has been pretty negative throughout, so Rangers very much in need of 3 points, just to lighten the mood, I think, somewhat. But anyway, enjoy the game.
I don't have any. And this is, listen, I should probably be careful before I say this because kiss of death. I don't actually have too many concerns about today. I just think Rangers domestically over the last couple of games have looked pretty good, and if they bring that form, I think they'll be absolutely fine. It's an attacking team, so if Motherwell do go and sit in the low block, then I think there's a lot there, a lot of bodies going in that box. You think the two fullbacks we've got, you think at the base of the defensive midfield, you've got someone there who can cover and drop back in, but you've also got two guys in front of them that are absolutely going to push forward and try and grab a goal in terms of Arfield and Tillman. So I'm pretty confident about this game. Might need some substitutes to come on. I'm not convinced about the wingers. I've already said that, but I think when you look at that lineup, Derek, and this is one of the big things that needs to be underlined, and you see the big man Antonio Cholak up there.
Yeah, goal machine.
I get a sense of serenity when I see him in the lineup because I just know that if you feed the bear will eat. And this guy is a natural born goal scorer who doesn't miss an awful lot of chances. So unlike Alfredo Morelos, who, listen, I love Alfredo Morelos to bits, terrific player, but Alfredo Morelos, sometimes you give him 5 chances, he missed 5 times.
Yeah.
Antonio Colak is different gravy when it comes to that.
Yeah, box, yeah.
There's just no sense that he's going to be in that box and not going to convert significantly high level of his chances. You can see that with his XG. I think he's on an XG of about 4.5 and he's got 10 goals.
Yeah.
So here's a guy that has got serious cutting edge. And domestically, mate, that is something Rangers have lacked through the entire Gerrard Van Bronckhorst era.
Yeah, well, Chris Boyd's the last player I can think of like that, Johnny, where you can rely on getting you 20 goals a season. Just a real predator in the box, and Rangers have found one. So hopefully he can get another 1 or 2 goals or even a hat-trick. He's looking for that elusive hat-trick. Of course, Antonio keeps getting taken off before he gets the opportunity to notch that hat-trick. But yeah, he's a one real shining light at the moment, Antonio Colak, and hopefully he does the business this afternoon. Okay, that'll do us there. We'll be back later on, folks. But until then, enjoy the game. Ta-ra.